Hey friends, you may already know that you can easily publish your APIs with Azure API Management with a built-in developer portal. But did you know that that portal is built on the lightweight Jamstack architecture? Mike Budzynski is here to show me how its extensive capabilities will enable you to make it your own today on Azure Friday. Hey, I'm Scott Hanselman, and it's Azure Friday, and we're back to look at the API Management Developer Portal. Thank you, Mike, for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
So last time you showed me this was in preview.
That's right.
And it's on Jamstack. And I've heard of LAMP and WAMP, and what is Jamstack?
That's right. So before we jump into that, let's maybe explain what a developer portal is.
Good point.
So it's an automatically generated website with the documentation of your APIs, and that you can fully customize, so you can make it your own. Also, this website is like a guide for the developers that build applications that rely on your APIs. And we have just released a new developer portal in API management, so completely new, to replace the old developer portal that came with the product. And we wanted to make it scalable and lightweight, and that's why we adopted the Jamstack architecture. Jamstack stands for JavaScript, APIs, and Markup. And what it means is that all the content of the portal, so for example, a page, configurations, settings, etc., are stored as markup documents, in our case JSON, which are then compiled into a set of static HTML pages and media files. Then those static HTML pages and media files are the portal that you deploy to expose your visitors.
Is this a kind of a static site generator?
Yes. So that's static site generator, just one step of this approach to building a website. You can think of it as a serverless website that doesn't rely on any infrastructure or on any servers or anything.
Okay, so it is static in the sense of it's not calling anything other than your own APIs? Or even
Yes, so all the static information is within the static files, but the dynamic information, like for example your user profile information, is fetched through an API using client-side JavaScript in the browser.
Now, I've noticed that as the security is increased on the internet, there's CORS rules and same-site cookies and all kinds of things like that.
Right.
Does this take care of all those things where I'm able to call my own APIs from this?
Yes, it's definitely easier to secure. It's also easier to scale. And there is no bottlenecks like databases that are coupled to it. And you can host it basically anywhere, but we'll get to that in the later part of the demo.
All right, let's do it.
So the second thing that when we made the developer portal, the new developer portal, I wanted to make sure that our customers can go to market with it as soon as possible. So for that, we decided to provision default content in the developer portal that minimizes the amount of customizations that you need to do to publish your website. So the default content follows the latest design trends, and it also has been thoroughly tested for accessibility. It works across devices, different screen sizes, and it also is carefully crafted for structure and navigation. So you can just easily go with it to the market and start productize your APIs. And I would like to show you the default content that comes with API management. And for that, I have an Azure Friday vanilla API management service. And for now, I'll focus on the landing page. So I can open the developer portal by clicking the developer portal button in Azure Portal. And this is the landing page. As you can see on the left and on the bottom, I have administrative panels. And on the landing page, I have the top navigation bar with the low-end menu, the call to action section, the header, the featured traits of an API, about us section, featured APIs, a technical sample of the API for more technical users, and customer references. But I've also started customizing another developer portal in a different API management service to brand it with Azure Friday branding. So I actually placed an image of one of my heroes right there in the top section, and I also changed the title.
So professional.
Yeah, and if you can see, I can edit pretty much everything. So right now, I'm in the role of a content editor, so I can fix the typo in the title, for example, and save the portal. And I could also add a component on this page. So this page is drag and drop components.
Wow.
So for example, a button is a component, text is a component, image is a component, but so is a list of APIs or a sign-in form or a sign-up form. So I could place any component there, whatever I would like to do. And this is typically what content editors would do. Then I can go to the styling guide page, which is a special page where you can style your developer portal. So all the visual elements across all the pages, you can control them here. And this is a page for designers. So you can style the typography, you can style the colors, buttons, shadows, images, cards, video players, menus, etc.
This is so sophisticated. It's a shame it's just for API management.
Maybe, who knows, maybe we'll go further. So for example, I can change the colors from blue to black so that they can match the top picture that I replace the background with.
You're changing the palette, just like changing a palette in
Exactly.
PowerPoint changes it everywhere.
Exactly. And now I could go back to the home page, and maybe I need to refresh it. And as you can see, the blue is now replaced with black. So that was how easy it was to change the colors. Of course, there are many more customizations that you can perform, but this is just not the basics of it.
So is this a thing that you host for me, or that I might make an instance of it and host it in my own? Like, when is it a portal as a service versus something I take responsibility for?
Exactly. So we'll get back to that in a minute.
Okay.
This is the portal that is built into your API Management service.
Wow.
So whenever you provision API Management service, the portal is there, and all you can see, this is attached to my API Management service. The third thing that we wanted to get right when designing the new developer portal is we wanted to make it pluggable into any DevOps pipeline that customers might have.
Okay.
So to do that, we made all the content of the portal accessible for APIs. So for example, you can programmatically export or import pages, those JSON documents. You can perform or restore backups, or you can migrate the portal between the environments, between different API management services. And lastly, the biggest challenge is we wanted to be able to satisfy all the requirements of all the customers. That's definitely a challenge. And to do that, we adopted this component-based architecture of the portal, and we open source the code base. So if there's a certain thing that the developer portal can't perform, for example, integrate with a third-party data source, you can fork the GitHub repository, extend the code base of the portal, so for example, implement your own component or extend existing components, and then self-host the developer portal. So you are still relying on our product, but you can customize it to extend it to match your requirements. And self-hosting the portal is very simple because of the Jamstack. So all you get as a compiled portal is just a set of static HTML pages and media files. So the easiest way to self-host it is to drag and drop it onto an Azure storage account and use the static websites feature of the storage account. So that's very easy. Of course, if you like more complexity, you can place a proxy layer or a web server. You can do it, for example, on Kubernetes, in the cloud, on premises, up to you. So I would like to show you that. I would like to show that as well. So I have already forked the code base. This is my Visual Studio Code with the code base of the portal. I'm not going to make any changes, but I will run the publishing step. So this static sites and media file generation step. It usually takes around half a minute.
Okay.
But as you can see, I already have a folder which contains some of the data there. So for example, it has all the HTML pages, and it also has the images that I used in my managed version of the portal. So right now I'm migrating from the managed version of the portal to the self-hosted portal with keeping all the data and customization that I have already made. So once this step finishes, I would like to upload those files into an Azure storage account. So let's give it a few seconds, and then I will just run a script to upload this local folder to a remote blob storage.
And setting up, doing things with an Azure storage static site is so easy. Like, it literally is.
It's easy,
Get Storage
fast,
Explorer.
reliable, and cheap.
Yeah, it's super cheap.
You can also use CDN to distribute your portal across the globe if you like to, but this is the easiest configuration right now.
Yeah.
And as you can see, I'm using Azure CLI, just a short command with my connection string.
Right.
to
The
the storage
command is
account.
quite short. The
Yeah,
connection
the
string
connection
is quite
string
long.
is,
Azure storage
Yeah.
blob upload batch.
yeah, and that's done.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. I
Wow.
just upload the local folder to a remote storage. And now I can refer to this website, and so you can see the host name points at the Azure storage.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the same portal that we've already customized. So for example, as you can see, this is black, not blue. As in
So
the
now we are
original version.
self-hosting the customized version.
Exactly. So if you wanted to, you could extend some widgets or implement your own widget, and this will be part of that portal. And we didn't have a chance to dive deeper into the portal, so let's do that now. I can go to APIs, and as you can see, I have a bunch of Azure Friday APIs here. Interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of them is Azure Friday Summit, a secret conference for
We
Azure
should have
Friday
that. We should make
members.
one.
Yeah.
We should do that.
And this API contains all the API operations, all the reference for this API.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, I can go to the get speakers API operation.
Mm-hmm.
It tells me what actions or what URL I need to call, what sort of query parameters. I don't have a payload defined, but if I had, it would also show up here.
Mm-hmm.
And I can test this API right from the portal. So if I want to develop my own application to use this API, this is very handy. So I can make a test call to this API, and I received a 200 OK response, so I know how this API works and what I can expect from it.
Mm. And I like at the top in this panel, you've got a list of all the different languages that
That's
you can
right.
potentially pull
You
from.
can just copy paste the code snippets to the different languages.
Yeah, look at that.
If you're writing, for example, code in C#, just copy paste, and there's even a button that lets you copy the whole code and run it easy.
That's cool. It's almost impossible to, like, we're so used to a dynamic web. This is a dynamic web. It's a
Yeah.
dynamic website, but the Jamstack, it's just not initially
Exactly.
intuitive because it's so simple, but
Yeah.
also so
Exactly.
So
So
powerful.
Jamstack is the latest trend in web development, thanks to its simplicity. I think it's becoming very, very popular. And lastly, if you want to get started with the new portal, I suggest you read the documentation. We also have video tutorials for it. And you can also engage with our community and maybe even contribute to our open source project on GitHub. It's under the Azure Organization API Management Developer Portal.
Very cool. So there's imagine this slider bar between get your own quick self-hosted developer portal, totally custom, get involved in open source, fork it, update your own components. You have full power from self-hosted, from hosted by
Exactly.
us to self-hosted.
Exactly. You can make contributions privately, so just extend the portal, or you can actually open a pull request and contribute to the code base.
Very
We've
cool.
already had quite a few contributions, and we are expecting more in the future.
Fantastic. People should head over to GitHub and give them some stars. I am learning all about how to catalog my APIs with the new developer portal in Azure API Management today on Azure Friday.